A bird choosing a tree will find a good one. An official choosing a lord will meet a wise one. This is the wish of Guan Yunchang's life. Take orders from you, never change one's mind. Me too. Share weal and woe, lifelong companionship. Me too. If I back out, I'm gonna die an ugly death. Me too.
Eldest brother, second brother.
Brothers. Middle brother.
Although not born on the same day of the same year.
Although not born on the same day of the same year.
Although not born on the same day of the same year.
We die on the same day of the same year.
We die on the same day of the same year.
Good day guys, coming here. Welcome back to Langrisser M News from the Future. So alright, we finally welcome the new banner, aka the collaborations with Romance of the Three Kingdom. Janai? Okay, just kidding. So as you guys have seen in the opening, for those Western players, you don't get the joke. It is actually a joke referring from the Romance of the Three Kingdom, where one of the main, the king or protagonist from this certain factions known as Liu Bei, he has a brotherhood with another two guys, and they kind of like form a three pairs. And how is this related to this character that I will be presenting to you guys? You guys will be finding out soon. So right on this part 1 of 3 of the video. So yep, this month we are not only welcoming one hero, not two heroes, but 3 heroes, 2 guys and 1 SP lady. So are you guys ready? Let's get started. So alright, before we carry on, the great thanks to information shared and provided by the Langrisser mobile app Soyu, and these characters featuring for this month. So on this part 1 of video, the usual stuff. Each video will be separated into 3 sections. Part 1 featuring the voice actor characters, the background stories of the heroes or heroines. Part 2, the skills, and last but not least, part 3, the pros and cons and how they fare and in their stats in both PvP and PvE. So alright, here we go. So this characters is from the Langrisser Millennium, and he is the teacher or the master, but not in a master relationship, but he's like Sham. He's the master of Sham, aka Sham is his disciple. So it's a teacher and student relationships, and his name is pronounced as Lukhmaan. I guess this kind of goes towards the Cantonese. You gotta pronounce his name that way to sound smooth. Lukhmaan. So the Chinese version is directly pronounced as Lukhmaan. And yep, here's the characters with L at the beginning. I'm gonna presume he is kind of strong and not bad, just my opinion. And he's voiced by none other than Mr. Hiroki Tochi-san. So the below are some of his recent famous works. Some of you might know him or may not, but don't worry. On the left is from the anime D Gray Man. He's known as the General Cross or Cross Marion. So he's the again the master of Alan Walker, and he has been a very shady guy in the series. Yep, how he abused his disciple and teach him all the bad stuff. Then on the right, I know this anime, Black Butler, aka Kuroshitsuji. Didn't watch about this show, sorry about it, but he voiced as this characters Baruto in the show, and his voice line is usually like he can go as those layback characters to those very strict teachers, and usually with a bad attitude. So right, background stories for Lukhmaan from the Langrisser Millennium WS. So here we go, some loose translations, so bear with me. So he's the warrior from the ancient civilization Sutang. So apparently he has been living for very long. He has been relying on special means to prolong his aging or to slow his aging. And that's why, on appearance wise, he still looks very young. Okay, apparently now he is the swords master of Xion. Oh, sorry, Xion instead of Shem. Oh no. Okay, he is both. So yep, I did not make this up. So apparently he is both the swords master of Xion and Shem. So, as the sword masters for Xion, he not only teach him fighting arts of sword skills, and at the same time guide him along to grow up along in his journey. Okay, so the below the more relationships we'll find out more. So apparently I heard about the CM players talking about bad stuff about him and how his methods of training or teaching caused Shem to become a bad guy, but I did not really focus too much as him being the true swords master for Xion. I mean, I always thought Mama Tiana is the one. So right, for relationships with Xion, after getting off the control from the Association of Light, Lukhmaan tried to atone for his sins of the past. He saved the prince, the Salem prince, and his close guard Tiana from the country of Salem that he destroyed, or due to him, it was destroyed due to him. And he called himself as a knight when staying with them. And he has grown. He has become the teacher, or the swordsman teachers for the growing Xion, the young prince. And some comment about him to Xion. Xion is still green in a lot of places. However, he has a straight and upbringing heart. One day, he'll be the king for guiding peace. But before that, protecting and teaching him will be our task. So this is his teaching to Xion. Then let us check for Shem. Shem, also being Lukhmaan's disciple, the difference between him and Xion is that the internal heart or internal well-being of Shem has already become worn and sick, and he is stagnated on one result or path only, that is to revive his kingdom. And he will do any act in order to protect his bloodline or his close ones. Though the word here used is Xueqing, is anyone that has blood relationship with him. And during the final battle, Lukhmaan has no choice but to fight or face against his once disciples, who has now walked towards different path against him. So this is comment to Shem. I am not a passing teacher, or I'm a failure as a teacher, even though I teach Sam the fighting arts, but I have neglected his heart, the uncomfortable in his heart, or his internal well-being. If I have managed to notice that back then, perhaps a lot of things and situations could have been salvaged. So, okay, I guess we can see two differences. Lukhmaan has been a very almost perfect teacher for Shion. He teach him fighting arts and also take care of his internal well-being as a person in heart. But for Shem, he is just purely teaching him all the fighting arts of destructions, if I may put it this way. But he did not care about his well-being. He did not teach him all the positive aspects of life as being a human. Then last but not least, this is chibi art from Marcel to Liana, Granda Curry, and I gotta say the sword, his sword is very nice. If no one actually said anything, I would have even thought this is Langrisser for the game itself. I mean, it looks pretty nice. Oops. And his design is very Eastern, the Chinese style. So compared to the original Langrisser 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which focus on Western and Japanese art style cultures, especially in Langrisser 3, we have Kimikaze from the Eastern, which more referring to the Japanese styles. Whereas for Langrisser Millennium, we can see this more of the Chinese styles, and the swords he's holding. Overall, very cool styles. So, okay, before we carry on to part 2, where the real game starts, let us check out his voice pack and voice line in the game. Here we go. Okay, kindly allow me to tune up a little bit. So basically from his summon line, he's saying, your eyes has the resolutions to hold peace. Allow me to travel with you. Lukhmaan here will be honored at your service, or will be honored to help, to assist at your service. So this is his speech. So if it's being kind of soft, let me tune out, and here we go.
君の瞳の中に平和への希望と決心が見て取れ。共に行かせてくれ。このルクマーン、君の力になれて光栄だ。
So alright, that's it for part 1, and now we're going to part 2, where we'll be talking about the characters' talent, factions, exclusive skills, and 3 C's. Here we go. So alright, we are at part 2, and slightly gotta apologize about the early on the voice pack when showcasing, because I'm testing out on a new device for voice recording. So apparently I need to switch down the volume so my voice won't sound overpowered, but in return it will affect when playing music from within the video, so some hiccups, do not mind. And now we're at part 2, and we'll be going through on rank 6 Lukhmaan's faction buff, talents and skills. Here we go. Okay, before we carry on, a slightly more expanded story or background story for this character. Okay, he's the hero who destroyed the ancient civilization Suotang, and he survived from the destruction of the civilizations. He had a special style of breathing technique that can slow down his aging process, and thus his appearance looks young. And okay, that's it, nothing else. And let us now go through the Liu Bei of the Langrisser game. And okay, if you guys are interested about this Liu Bei I'm talking about, feel free to check out Romance of the Three Kingdoms. Okay, Lukhmaan rank 6. Okay, his faction buffs are from Glory of Light, Strategy, and Yellows. So other than Strategy, where we do not have any new faction buffer that are strong yet, we currently still have Yellows from Empress Enya, and also from SP Landis. Then followed by, we have Glory of Light, we have LLR Kreese, where she gave very great and good faction buff where you can heal your allies or yourself after battle, so that's pretty cool. So definitely a plus for Lukhmaan. So alright, watch till the end for the translations I have done for you guys of his skills. And here we go. Talent, loosely translated as vision of balance keeping. The effects are as follow. So okay, before that, so one thing, as you guys can see, on the left is the Sword of Xion, on the middle is Lukhmaan's, and on the right, I presume this is from Sham. And there are fans who say this icon is kind of like slightly copycat or looks similar, awfully similar to the Romance of Three Kingdoms, one of the game icon, with character skills icon, where Liu Bei and Zhang Fei and his another sworn brothers, Guan Yu, they are holding the tree of their weapon, crossing against each other. So therefore this joke is made. And alright, the effect as follows. Number 1, increase attack and defense by 20%. Number 2, have concentric and command buff effect, and able to let ally gain the buff. Okay, the buff you can gain are as follow. Concentric buff effect. Okay, first, when allies with concentric buff has another ally with the same buff within 3 blocks in range, increase attack and intelligence by 10%. The max is capped at 20%. This effect cannot be immune nor dispelled. Number 3, at the start of the turn, cast concentric buff on allies closest to you until there are 3 buffs on the field. Number 4, when you end your turn, you can choose and teleport to one ally within 7 blocks range with concentric buff effect. Note, this effect will enter a CD of 2 turns upon triggered. Number 5, Command aura skills and effect of the same type cannot trigger at the same time. So this is his effect. So apparently this concentric is a buff and command aura buff effect. So I don't think you will be able to dispel. So the effect is not too bad. He has an inbuilt mechanism of increasing attack and defense by 20%. This means he will be weak to magic attack. Then the concentric command aura buff is providing attack and intelligence, so no defensive stats. And there's a cap limit of 20%, but the great thing is that this effect cannot be immune or dispel, and at the start of a turn you can cast the buff to allies closest to you. We'll find out more later, but if I'm not wrong, it's an auto cast at the start of the game. It's kind of like the mermaid name. For a lot of you guys who do not understand what I'm talking about, do check out the character's name. So at the start of the game, allies standing around her, closest to her within certain blocks, they will gain this shield effect. So it's the same for Lukhmaan. So you got to adjust your team's standing positions. And another great thing about this buff is that at the end of a turn, you can choose to teleport to the ally with this buff, concentric buff, to them. So if he has a act against skills, this means that you can just teleport to the ally. Let's say it's a tank already at enemy's terrain or within their range. You can go there and act again and try to hit on the enemy or try to kill them. But do know that similar command aura will not stack, so you can't think of trying to make very crazy combo to stack up the stats or effect. So right, and he has only 2 exclusive skills, and now we'll be going to read. So exclusive skill 1 is known as, loosely translated as, Gully Break. Okay, it's a 2C skills with a CD of 2 turns. The range is 2 block. The AoE type is physical single target. The effect are as follow. Number 1, attack and deal 1.5 times damage to target enemy. Number 2, before going into battle, give target enemy debuff effect. Reduce defense by 25% for 2 turns. Number 3, after battle, let all allies with concentric buff effect to gain +2 mobility for 2 turns. Number 4, close combat soldiers you bring will attack together and is immune to close combat penalty. So okay, this is Lukhmaan own version of Air Slash, and is definitely a power-up version of Air Slash. There's definitely some pros and cons. So these skills do not directly buff himself, but 1.5 times damage, and before going to battle, it reduces enemies' defense by 25%, and this effect will last for 2 turns. It's not until the battle, so that's pretty cool. High chance is that the enemy will die unless they have advantage, but even if they survive, having defense reduction of 25%, and not to mention last for 2 turns, there's high chance any follow-up attacks is going to kill this enemy unless they're immune to all debuff. But last but not least is, after this battle, this effect will allow allies with concentric buff to gain +2 mobility, and there's no restriction like so if your characters with your cavalry or dragon unit or flyer, you can move 5 blocks. There's no restrictions, so as long as you have this buff, after Lukhmaan's attack and supposedly he survived, you gain +2 mobility and +2 turn. So units who already can move 5 blocks will become 7 blocks. So it's a free breeze effect for the 2 ally. So that's not too bad. So if you're trying to go for rush or offensive playing ability, this is definitely a very great option. Then not to mention, these skills are immune to close combat penalty, and close combat soldiers will attack together, so not too bad. Full force attack. The only downside is they do not really self-buff himself, like in terms of not just mobility but like surviving stats. Like maybe he will be increase his defense or magic defense during the attack, so there's higher chance he will survive. Okay, exclusive skill 2, Magic Armor Energy Gathering. So that's a loose translation to come up with. It is a 1C skills with a CD of 4 turns. The range is self. The AoE type is single target. It's alright, it has both passive and active. The effect are as follows. For passive, number 1, after initiating attack and going into battle, heal allies with concentric buff 20% of their HP. Number 2, if this battle defeats the target enemy, reduce all damage skill CD by 2 turns. Okay, we'll go to the active skills too, and we'll go through at the end. Active skills, number 1, gain the following effect after casting for 2 turns. You gain the following effect. First, you gain immunity to debuff effect. Second, you gain attack intelligence increased by 20%. Number 2, after using these skills, you can move 3 blocks and attack again. Number 3, buff turn you had will not be reduced when using these skills. And ta-da, there you have. So definitely, well, like his name start with L, he's definitely a very great character to use. So I can really think of a few combos. So let us go through first. So first off is the passive ability. So this passive gives you a built-in CD reduction and self-healing for not only Lukhmaan but also for the other 2 allies. So 3 characters on the map will gain healing after Lukhmaan's attack. So, and the healing is fixed, is 20% of your max HP. Then if Lukhmaan's go into the battle and manage to defeat the enemy, all damage skills he bring will be, the CD will be reduced by 2 turns. So that's pretty cool. His Gully Break is exclusive skill 1, is only 2 turns. So with this, if you manage to kill an enemy, this thing will just go into loop. You do not need clock enchantment. You can just focus on other enchantment for your team, for Lukhmaan. So that's a passive ability, and I can already think this is a very great combo to go with LLR Crease, because a faction buff allows allies of Glory of Light. After attacking you, and again if you survive, you get to heal allies with low HP, so you get a double healing at a time. So that's pretty cool. Okay, then talking about active skills, definitely great stuff. So you gain immunity and gain attack intelligence increment by 20%. So this is a lower tier version of Chivalry. So like Leon Chivalry is gain 30%, but this is 20%. However, you also still retain the immunity aspect. This is pretty cool. Then last but not least, second effect is upon using these skills, you can act again, and you're moving 3 blocks, and you can attack again. And the greater part is buff turn you had will not be reduced when using these skills. So this is pretty cool. At the start of the game, you have, let's say, gave characters like Ice Queen Imelda. So Ice Queen Imelda managed to fly over to the almost end of the map towards the enemies, or just fly into the enemies area or base. Then if she survived the attack and she did not die, when it's your turn again, Lukhmaan can cast Magic Armor Energy Gathering, act again, and it in turn triggered his talent teleport to allies 7 blocks in range. And of course I'm gonna make sure it's 7 blocks in range, so he can teleport to the ally, and then he can move 3 blocks and attack again. So long story short, the point of anchor of allies is at 7 blocks, so it's 7, so Lukhmaan's range will become 7 plus 3 blocks, 10 blocks. And then with a 2C Gully Break is a 2 block, so it become 10 plus 2 is a maximum of 12 block range for his skills to reach, so that's not too bad. Because Gully Break is his only skills that gave 2 blocks, unlike his 3C, which is 1 block and will be coming up soon. So I'll be checking if you have other skills that are 2 blocks. Yep, 1 block. Sword Soul, oh yeah, Sword Soul, 1 block. And he only have 1 AoE, so the only range skills he had will be Gully Break, exclusive skill 1. So he's definitely going to bring exclusive skill 1 and 2 together, and followed by a 3C. Then he has 2 class, Infantry and Lancer, so definitely go for Lancer class because I can bring in Ragnarok, do fixed damage before battle. And okay, last but not least, talking about his 3C. Okay, 3C. Shunko Zenha. So I'm gonna go with the Japanese word, but it is loosely translated as Flash of Blade. So the 3C is having a CD of 5 turns. The range is 1 block. The AoE type is physical single target. Then this skill is one of the more unique 3C. It has the following icon, so you guys can see. So you just treat it according to 3 lines. The first line is it is a common aura skills. Second is passive, and third is the active skills. So we'll be going through in sequence. So first off, common aura. Number 1, when ally with concentric buff move past other allies with the same buff, they do not consume mobility. Okay, not too bad. This is not too bad, not too great. It's a common aura, but if you do not have enough mobility, you still can't move past the character. So this is Seraphina's skills of passing through allies. I'm not sure if he will have other soldiers unit that will assist him to move further, but overall it's not too shabby. This is not just for him, but for the other 2 allies. So total of up to 3 characters can enjoy this benefit. Okay, second is passive. Number 1, for each ally with concentric buff 3 blocks around you, increase your damage deal by 10%. The max stack is 30%. Okay, that's a passive. It's a one-liner. It's not too bad, not too great. Okay, last but not least, active skills. Attack and do 1.8 times damage to the target enemy. Number 2, dispel 5 buff from target enemy before battle. Number 3, if there is any ally with concentric buff 3 blocks around you, this attack ignore guard. Number 4, if this attack defeat the target enemy, you will cause other enemies 2 blocks around the target enemy that you defeat to have their damage skill CD increased by +2 turns. So okay, I'm not wowed by the command aura or passive, I'm definitely wowed by the active skills. So 1.8 times damage is definitely great. And like Sword Soul, you get to dispel 5 buff from the enemy. But the greatest part is number 3 is when you have allies 3 blocks around you with concentric buff, the concentric buff or command aura around you, this attack will ignore guard. So enemy is not able to guard their ally if these situations occurred. So not too bad. But I guess number 4, the last part is the best, is after, if this attack defeat the enemy, you will cause their allies standing 2 blocks around the target to have their damage skills CD increased by +2 turns. So correct me if I'm wrong, we'll find out more on part 3. Enemies will instantly not able to cast skills for 2 turns because this effect affect them, their skills gain a +2. I'm not sure if this is considered just an effect or a debuff. We'll find out more later, but overall it's not too bad. Command aura is just normal when ally with concentric buff move past other allies with the same buff, they do not consume mobility. This is just in my opinion low tier, not too great. Then passive is damage increment. For each ally 3 blocks around you, you increase damage by 10%, max 30%. And last but not least, the active skills. 1.8 times, 5 spell debuff. Then not to mention, when the criteria are met with, you can ignore guard. Then last but not least, if you kill the enemies, you give other allies standing 2 blocks near the target to have their damage skill CD increased by +2. It's not +1, it's +2, so there's high chance that the enemy is not able to use the skill this turn. Because if enemies has stuff like act again, +1 turn is not an issue, but +2 is definitely gonna be a big issue. So alright, what did you guys think at this point? Is Lukhmaan strong or not too bad? And with this, we will be ending here with our part 2. We are going to part 3 now. Here we go. So alright, welcome back. We are at part 3, the final part. We'll be featuring the pros and cons and gimmicks on how it works for Lukhmaan. And before we carry on, a great thanks to information shared and provided by the Langrisser Data Bank. Here we go. Okay, some other details. So first off, about Lukhmaan Born. Okay, great news for you guys. You don't have to worry about his attack bond for PvE players. If you just want to try him out, you do not really care about his bond. There's no worries because you just need to unlock his class. I'm not sure it's his swordsman class. All you need to do is unlock his swordsman class or fully master his swordsman or infantry mastery, and you gain his power bond. Only for defense bond, you need Shion to assist him in his Gate of Fate. So kind of biased. They do not you do not need both Shion and Sham for helping him. Only one Shion is enough for defense bond. So if you do not want to spend so much of a ticket, this is a better choice, I guess. This is not bad of a choice. And the following is his casting or rune emblems materials. Okay, these are all you need. Then for class path, so you can see the stats. So for infantry and his Lancer class, so the top is loosely, I guess I'm gonna translate it as righteous assisting of blade. Then the Lancer class is camping, how do you call it? Okay, give me a while, sorry. Gosh. Okay, road protections haven't scaled. Yep, sorry that you guys have to wait for me to search the thing. Okay, but overall, infantry class has a higher HP, but Lancer class has greater defense and greater skills. So, and moreover, Lancer class has better benefits in terms of equipment going. I'll say we can go with Ragnarok, deal fixed damage before battle. Then since it is not focused on AoE, you do not need balanced blade. So my opinion, I'll go with Lancer class. The only downside is you gotta be careful on maps. If the map is water map or sea map, and your mobility will be affected. But other than that, still okay. Then the heartborn effect. So the first one is for infantry and the second one is for his Lancer. So we'll be talking about level 4 and level 7 for the infantry class. Level 4, when unit HP is below 70%, when going to battle, damage you receive will be reduced by 10%. For level 7, when unit have 5 or more buff, strengthen buff, damage deal in battle will be increased by 10%. Then for Lancer class, level 4, when receiving range attack, when going to battle, damage you receive will be reduced by 10%. For level 7, when unit HP falls below 70%, increase damage deal by 10%. Okay, if I may say, the swordsman buff seems better. Okay, now we're talking about the pros and cons and gimmick for his talents and skills. So okay, Lukhmaan talent is at the start of a battle will automatically give himself and the allies, the 2 other allies closest to him in terms of distance, to gain this concentric buff. And if 3 of them are standing close to each other, they will enjoy attack and intelligence increment, though capped at 20%. And Okay, question we might want to ask is, what if other allies die? The one, let's say, I gave one concentric buff to Ice Queen Imelda and she died, let's say on first turn. What will happen? Will we still be able to rebuff the following turn? Or the answer is yes. If during the battle allies with concentric buff dies, when the following turn starts, you will automatically give the concentric buff closest to you. Then talking about another part about his talent is teleporting to allies within 7 blocks. Is upon ending turn, Lukhmaan can target allies on the whole field, though it's actually a global effect, including himself, and teleport to them. But the teleport distance is only 7 blocks. So the following is the clip on how the teleportation works. So you can see the allies is more than 7 blocks. So one thing to take note is, despite this teleportation effect, it's global effect, but the teleportation's range distance have to be allies with concentric buff within 7 blocks. If not, after casting the skills, you just teleport on the location you're standing on, the position you're standing on currently. Then the below is how concentric buff are given according to the, that's a pattern apparently, or rules for the closest ally. So your priority gave distance allies that is closest to you for the buff, and it's automatically, you can't choose. Okay, so you can see the following here is Betty is standing on the top and Van is standing on the right block. So at the start is top and right, they will gain the buff first. So when distance are the same, or when the difference in distance are the same, the priority of concentric buff will be given to ally in straight line range. So I guess Bernhard, so in a straight line, it's not diagonal, so you can see Bernhard standing directly in the straight line positions will be getting, and Iron Blood Commander standing directly downward will be getting the buff instead of the other two allies. So the following is a pattern that, or kudos to the Langrisser data bank guy for figuring out how the pattern works. So when you're on same distance, same straight line, the priority are given in such a way. So on the left is player 1 on the left, and on the right is player 2. And do note that how the buff is given for player 2 is not mirror image, so the sequence remain the same. So it's based on the following pictures. So slightly kind of hard to use his talent in my perspective. I'm not a great player doing all this sort of calculations. All I do, I will just adjust my positions correctly at the start of the game just to play safe. Okay, the below are the list of skills that Lukhmaan has. So he has 4 single target, 1 active skills and 1 AoE skills and 3 passive abilities. Okay, we'll be going through again during the actual demo play. Though overall, I gotta say, as of the current meta, you'll be only using exclusive skill 1, 2, and 3C. So its 3C is made of command aura, passive and active skills combinations. So when allies with the command aura allow allies with concentric buff, when passing each other, they will not consume the tile's mobility. So basically you gain a +1 mobility effect. And for the passive is, if there is allies with concentric buff 3 blocks around you, you'll gain damage increment. So again, the pros is that when the chances are met with, Lukhmaan can ignore guard for his attack. Then, not to mention, if he managed to destroy or defeat the target enemy, the target enemies, other allies who stand 2 blocks around them, will have their skills CD +2. Let's see if there's explanations. There's no further elaboration, so I'm going to treat it as it's a straightforward. You gain an instant +2 CD for all your skills, damage skills. It does not affect other support or act again ability. As long as it don't deal damage, you will not be affected. Okay, exclusive skill 1, decrease enemies 35% defense is a debuff, and after battle give other allies with concentric buff to gain +2 mobility for 2 turns. So okay, as you can see, this is a generic buff icon for his exclusive skill 1, Gullet Break. So this is a +2 icon, is a mobility icon, so it cannot be stacked on with Breeze. And other speed buff of the same icon, they do not stack. So sadly, for anyone who wants to do some crazy mobility combo, you can't. Okay, exclusive skill 2, the Act Again ability is, the passive is, after battle you can provide HP recovery of 20% for allies with concentric buff. And if you manage to kill off the target, all damage skills will receive -2 CD for your skills, so you can spend them ASAP. And the great thing is that they do not require you to use skills. So apparently, if by any chance your other skills are in CD, but if you initiate attack going to battle, you manage to kill them, you cause Yep, you just straight up reduce CD of your damage skills, so not too bad. It's like a 2-turn clock that only spend two turns, but not too bad. And it's a lower tier chivalry skills that allows you to act again. You still gain attack intelligence increment and able to move 3 blocks and attack again. So the main plus about Lukhmaan is that you do not need to overly rely on faction buff. Allies, he kind of self-buffing ability. Then you can make use of your egg again, and also combining with your talents teleportations effect. So you can actually adjust your allies' positions, or also make use of them to assist you to bypass tank to become like assassin characters. Okay, skipping here, other skills he had. Okay, so this is a meme we are talking about. On the left is from Langrisser, and on the right is from Romance of the Three Kingdoms. So this is a further elaborations on giving concentric buff in terms of priority. Okay, let's see any more elaborations. Okay, no more. So alright, we have come to the end. So this is the suggested equipment, build and enchantment to give him, and surprisingly he can have full moon and clock. I mean, his passive ability already give him CD reduction. I'm kind of surprised it's being suggested to give clock. Though I gotta say his 3C is 5 turns, so having a clock is not too bad. Full moon definitely give him more stats, higher killing line. So these are the suggested item builds. But I gotta say, this seems more for infantry. Ragnarok is not being displayed here, so I gotta say they forget about the build for his Lancer group. I personally would feel it's better to go with the Lancer build. So alright, that's it. What do you guys think? Do you think Lukhmaan is great, normal, or not so strong? Leave it down in the comment sections below, and we'll find out during the demo play. This is Kami. See you guys, and part 2 is featuring a certain he, she. Okay, that's it.